Alright, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to give you some example on how to do number one so you guys know what it is that we're doing for the rest of these problems. So as we read this, it tells us that Bob takes a polka dot cab from the airport to his home, which is exactly 6 miles away. And the cab is going to cost him a total of $7.70. And Wally takes a cab from his hotel to the golf club, which is only 10 miles away. And it says that his price is $11.50. So what we have here is the equation that we were using to base all of this off of. So it tells us that Maria uses a cab as a delivery service vehicle, and the distance that's driven one morning is 60 miles. So what's going to be the cost of the cab? And so obviously we have miles, which is going to be the same for our m. So the way I want to figure this out is just take 0.95 and multiply it by the number of miles that I have. So 60 in this case plus 2 is going to equal C of 60, which is a total of, and let's go ahead and find out. So turn on the calculator here. We have 0.95 parentheses 60 and plus 2. And so we get a total of $59, right? So that's what I'm going to put in here, $59. Alright. Now, on the next question, it's asking me instead the fare from the international airport to the local airport was $14.54. So what is the distance between the two places? Now, there's really two ways we can do this, and in fact we could have done it with the other one too, which is go to our y equals and just put in the equation, which is 0.95 miles plus 2. And had we gone to our table and scrolled all the way down to 60, we would have also seen that we would have had $59. So just doing that real quick, 60 gave us the $59. So here we're looking for the dollar amount, which is $14.54. So I'm going to scroll up and I'm going to look in this Y column for $14.54. And I got really close here, so I know that I'm going to have a value of somewhere between 13 and 14. And so the way we're going to do this algebraically then, because remember, this is my cost, so instead of going into the m, my cost is right here in the y. So I replace that, and I have $14.54 is equal to 0.95 m plus 2. And so if I wanted to do this with my algebra skills, I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. And 14 minus 2 gives me 12.54, which is equal to 0.95 m. And so lastly, the way I'm going to solve this is divide both sides by 95 cents. And my handy dandy calculator here, second quit, $12.54 divided by 95 cents gives us a total of $13.20 or 13.2 miles. So m is equal to 13.2. Now, this should tell me now, as I'm looking at this, whether or not this is discrete or continuous. And remember we said, can I do the half values? And in this particular case, the half values I'm looking at are my miles. So is it possible for me to be charged for only half of a mile, or in this case, 0.2 miles? And the answer to that is yes. And since I can do that, I know that this data is going to be continuous because I'm being charged for every little bit continuous. Alright, now I know I skipped over to D, but let's go ahead and look at what C says. So sketch a graph for this problem using a suitable domain. Identify the domain and range of the function and the reasonable domain and range. So we have two different things that we have to do. Not only do we have to graph it and identify the domain and range, we should identify the reasonable domain and range. And so again, I can hit the graph button and I see that I have a nice little line graph like this. So let me go ahead and kind of sketch this out right here. And I know I have something to the effect of this. Now, it's asking though for us to sketch the problem using a suitable domain. Now, what is wrong with graphing anything past the y-axis here? Well, everything past here is a negative value, so -1, -2, all the way up to -infinity. So my question to you is, because remember, the x value in this case is miles, and the y value in this case is my dollar signs, right? So is it possible for me to have negative mileage in this trip? No, unless he's driving backwards. And if he is, I don't want to be part of his cab. So I'm going to erase, or at least I think I'm going to erase. There we go. I'm going to erase this half of the graph and redraw this out to where my graph actually starts. And where do you think would be a reasonable place to start if I'm doing a taxi cab? And 0. Because I don't have to take the cab. So 0 would be the most reasonable one, because 0 would tell me that I'm just not taking the cab. So here we go, is all the way out to infinity. So this would be the sketch of the suitable domain, but I need to identify the domain and range for the function. Well, if you go back to this, this graph, if you look on the x-axis goes all the way out to -infinity, and this one, it keeps going. If I were to zoom out, you can see that, zoom 3, and I'll just zoom out right there. You see the line, it just keeps going. So I know that my domain and range for this problem, so we'll do part A. The domain is going to be all real values, meaning -infinity to +infinity. And the range is also going to be all real numbers because of how it goes from all the way down to the bottom and all the way up to the top. Now, reasonably, though, we know that we can't have -infinity numbers, so, or we can't drive negative miles. So I know my domain is reasonably going to start at 0. And even though I don't know the extent of my driving, I can go as far as I want to. So that's why I'm going to put infinity here for my reasonable domain and range. Range-wise, if I don't take the cab, then I don't have to pay any money. But because of the way this is written, if I get in the cab and just sit in it and don't go any amount of miles, I'm still going to be charged a minimum of, and where's the starting value right here? 2. So I'm going to be charged $2 no matter what, and it's going to go all the way out to infinity. So, and where is this 2 coming from in the equation? Right here in our y-intercept, right? If you remember that from Algebra 1. So the real world meaning of the y-intercept is that, what? I'm being charged $2 no matter what. So, charged oh my gosh, come on, charged $2 for sitting down. And is this reasonable in the context of the situation? Well, I guess if I get in the car, sit down, and don't do anything, I guess he can charge me $2. But reasonably, I don't know. It's really going to be up to you guys. I want you to tell me whether you think it's reasonable or not. So, all right. Lastly, we're being asked, what are the units of the slope? And what is the real-world meaning of the slope? And if you guys remember anything, this part right here, this 0.95 is your slope. So the units of the slope could be said to be 95 cents always over the invisible 1, right? And so this is going to be the price per mile, right? So what is the meaning? It means for every 1 mile I take, I'm being charged a total of 95 cents. So I hope this helps you with the rest of your problems.